Courtrooms are built on order, decorum, and the rule of law. Yet some of the people sworn to uphold those principles are the very ones who shattered them. These are 10 real moments when lawyers and judges completely lost it in front of a court. Hit subscribe so you never miss another story like this one. Number 10. Rob Hopkins dragged screaming from an Oklahoma courtroom. On February 5, 2026, a routine custody hearing in Ada, Oklahoma became one of the most chaotic courtroom scenes in recent memory. The hearing took place in Pontotoc County, presided over by Judge Lori Jackson. Attorney Rob Hopkins was warned repeatedly to stop interrupting the bench. Each warning was ignored. When Hopkins accused the judge of discriminating against him, the temperature in that courtroom rose past the point of no return. Judge Jackson told him plainly, "Stop. You interrupt me one more time and you are being held in contempt." Hopkins responded by splaying his body across the judge's bench and sweeping documents off the surface. As officers moved in, he shouted, "You're hurting me and I cannot breathe," while twisting and contorting to evade handcuffs. Attendees watched in stunned silence. Footage from both courtroom surveillance and body cameras was later released by the Oklahoma District Attorney's Office. Hopkins was charged with resisting arrest. In a video statement on February 11th, he announced he was shutting down Hopkins Law and Associates PC, a firm he had operated in Oklahoma City for 13 years. Number 9. Julie Lee, the government attorney who told a federal judge her job sucks. Before she ever set foot in a Minnesota courtroom, she had built a career in immigration, criminal, and family law. Julie volunteered through Operation Metro Surge, a Department of Homeland Security initiative, to help prosecutors handle a sudden surge of immigration cases in Minneapolis. Within weeks of her January 2026 arrival, she was listed in at least 88 cases. She had no proper training for the assignment and no support structure beneath her. The cases kept coming, and the breaking point came fast. Standing before federal judge Jerry Blackwell, Lou said, "The system sucks. This job sucks." She told the judge she wished he would hold her in contempt just so she could get a full 24 hours of sleep. She described getting ICE to comply with court orders as like pulling teeth. Lee said she had submitted her resignation but could not find a replacement. Following her courtroom remarks, Lee was removed from the Minnesota detail by the U.S. Attorney's Office. The Department of Homeland Security called her conduct unprofessional and unbecoming. Few who watched the video clip disagreed with her exhaustion. Number 8. Judge John Murphy versus Andrew Weinstock, the fist fight that ended a career. On June 2, 2014, a Brevard County, Florida courtroom became the site of one of the most jaw-dropping judicial meltdowns ever captured on audio. The source of the tension was a speedy trial waiver. Assistant Public Defender Andrew Weinstock refused to sign one on behalf of his client, and Judge John Murphy took it as a personal affront. Murphy told Weinstock, "You know, if I had a rock, I would throw it at you right now. Stop pissing me off. Just sit down." Weinstock stood his ground and asserted his right to represent his clients while standing. Murphy then said, "If you want to fight, let's go out back and I'll just beat your ass." The two men left the courtroom. No camera followed them into the hall, but courtroom audio captured the sound of a scuffle before deputies intervened. Weinstock later said Murphy pinned him against the wall with his right arm and punched him with his left. Murphy returned to the bench and resumed going down the docket, with defendants who no longer had counsel present. The Florida Supreme Court removed him from the bench in December 2015, calling it a national spectacle and an embarrassment to Florida's judicial system. Murphy, an Afghanistan war veteran decorated with the Bronze Star and 2 Meritorious Service Medals, attributed the incident to untreated PTSD. Number 7. Judge Pinky Carr over 100 incidents of courtroom misconduct. The Ohio Supreme Court removed Judge Pinky Carr from the Cleveland Municipal Court bench after documenting more than 100 incidents of misconduct spanning several years. Her own attorney struggled to describe the state of her courtroom, which was covered with what the court described as an array of dolls, cups, novelty items, and junk, resembling, in one account, a flea market. She waived court fines based on holidays and birthdays, issued warrants for defendants who missed hearings she had never told them about, and wore outfits including spandex shorts and slogan t-shirts to the bench. Carr joked openly in court about granting lighter sentences in exchange for food, beverages, carpeting, or storage space. She jailed a woman for 15 days for rolling her eyes during a hearing. In open court, she told prosecutors, spelling out a profanity, "I am not your B word, run, tell that." The Board of Professional Conduct found that she very publicly flouted her disregard for court orders and engaged in repeated acts of dishonesty and blatant and systematic disregard of due process. She was suspended indefinitely from the practice of law, effective immediately. Number 6, Judge Nathan Milliron, when "Get Out of My Courtroom" went viral. In April 2026, a clip from a Harris County District Court livestream spread across the internet within hours. District Judge Nathan Milliron of the 215th Civil Court was dealing with a minor computer issue when an IT worker stopped by to help. After the employee resolved the problem and bid the judge a polite farewell, Milliron responded, "Get out of my courtroom," and then added, "Jesus Christ, sick and tired of this today." The courtroom fell silent. The clip did not. Houston defense attorney James Stafford emailed the judge afterward, writing, "I hope you issued him an apology for the way you treated him." Milliron accused Stafford of improper ex parte communication and ordered him to appear in court. Brent Mayer, president of the Harris County Criminal Lawyers Association, called it a frightening precedent. More than a dozen attorneys showed up in Milliron's courtroom in a show of support for Stafford. Murray Newman, a local defense attorney, described the episode as one of the worst cases of what lawyers call black robe disease he had ever seen. Before we continue, which of these moments shocked you the most? Have you ever watched a courtroom proceeding go completely off the rails in real life? Drop a comment and let us know where in the world you are watching from. Number 5, Judge James Convery, the Essex County judge who called a lawyer an illegal alien. Appointed to the New Jersey bench in 1993, Superior Court Judge James Convery of Essex County had developed a reputation among local attorneys long before this moment. In the 2005 judicial survey published by the New Jersey Law Journal, lawyers ranked him 43rd out of 48 judges in freedom from racial and ethnic bias and dead last in courtesy to lawyers and litigants. The incident that ended his reputation nationally was captured on video during a divorce hearing in Newark. Attorney Yvette Ramos Alvarez, the former president of the Hispanic Bar Association of New Jersey, was representing a client when a dispute arose over a missing Social Security statement. When Alvarez mentioned she had not received her own statement in several years, Convery asked, "When did you become an illegal alien?" After a few seconds of silence, Alvarez told the judge his comment was totally inappropriate and walked out of the courtroom. She returned, the judge attempted an apology, and then she filed a misconduct complaint. The Advisory Committee on Judicial Conduct issued Convery a public reprimand, and the case was reassigned to another judge. Number 4, Ernie Wayne Tertelt, the man who refused to recognize the court. In August 2013, a 52-year-old Montana man named Ernie Wayne Tertelt sat alone at the defense table, having declined representation by counsel. The charge that brought him there was about as modest as a court case can get. He was facing a fishing without a license citation and a resisting arrest charge. What followed bore almost no relationship to the legal proceedings those charges typically produce. Tertelt refused to state his name for the record. He refused to acknowledge the judge's authority. He called himself the living natural man and asked the court, "Why is a British recognized esquire asking questions in an American courtroom?" He refused to sit. He demanded the proceedings stop entirely. The judge held him in contempt before jury selection was even complete. The video spread widely online and became one of the most shared courtroom clips of its era, introducing millions of viewers to a corner of the legal world they had never imagined existed. Number 3, Matthew Ishihara, the DOJ lawyer, fined $500 a day. In February 2026, a Minnesota federal courtroom added another chapter to what was already becoming a remarkable season of legal meltdowns. Department of Justice Attorney Matthew Ishihara stood before Judge Laura Provenzino to account for a detained immigrant who still did not have his identification documents returned to him. Judge Provenzino did not simply issue a warning. She held Ishihara in civil contempt and ordered him to pay $500 for every single day those documents remained unreturned. Ishihara apologized to the court, telling the judge the matter had fallen through the cracks. He explained he was a military lawyer temporarily assigned to fill staffing gaps at the U.S. Attorney's Office left by a wave of resignations. He cited high caseloads and a complete absence of institutional support. The $500 daily fine and the civil contempt finding made national headlines at a time when federal courtrooms across the country were already straining under the weight of non-compliance from the executive branch. It was a quiet meltdown, but the financial consequence was not quiet at all. Number 2, the DOJ brief that a legal scholar called a temper tantrum. Not every courtroom meltdown involves shouting or shoving. Some arrive in the form of a legal brief. In 2026, a federal judge in the Eastern District of Virginia, David J. Novak, a Trump appointee himself, entered an order questioning why attorney Lindsay Halligan kept signing briefs with the title United States Attorney, despite a binding court order finding her appointment unlawful. The order was pointed, and the government's response was extraordinary. The responsive brief was signed not just by Assistant U.S. Attorneys, but by Attorney General Pam Bondi and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche personally. Legal scholar Benjamin Wittes of Lawfare described the document as a temper tantrum, writing that the Justice Department had no business dressing down a federal district judge as though he were some mere employee who had gotten out of line. The brief accused Judge Novak of conducting a sua sponte inquisition and declared that his order flouts no fewer than 3 separate lines of Supreme Court precedent. The court's response was brief. It was unimpressed. Number 1. Julie Lowe, the moment behind the moment. Most people who watched the clip of Julie Lowe saw a lawyer unraveling in a federal courtroom. What many missed was the sentence that followed. After telling Judge Jerry Blackwell that the system sucks and that she welcomed contempt if it meant sleep, Lowe paused and said, "I am not white, as you can see, and my family is at risk, as any other people that might get picked up, so I share the same concern." She was not simply burned out, she was a DHS attorney enforcing immigration policies that she feared could one day reach her own family. She had immigrated to the United States in 1993. She had built a legal career over decades. She had volunteered for an assignment that left her alone, unsupported, and listed in nearly 90 cases with no guidance and no backup. The judge listened. The courtroom was quiet. Whatever anyone thought of the outburst, the honesty behind it was impossible to dismiss.